In climates like we have here in Tasmania, being able to grow berry fruits is one of the things that we really enjoy. And raspberries is one of those really tasty berry fruits that so many people love to eat. They're also really high cost to buy, so good value to grow in your garden. However, raspberries have a couple of problems in growing them. One is birds. Now, a berry house like I've got here is a simple way of controlling the birds. You could also put larger nets over them if you're growing them in a bigger area. The other problem they have is that they tend to sucker. They run underground and come up in all sorts of places that you didn't invite them to grow. Now, there are really two ways of dealing with that. One is to have plenty of space around them, preferably lawn, where you can actually control them with a lawnmower, just mow off those shoots, and that there's sufficient space that they're not intruding onto other things where you don't want them to grow. The other solution for this is the one that I'm going to implement today, because I've been trying to grow them in the ground in this berry house for a few years, and because I'm very close to my veggie garden and also the greenhouse behind me, I find them intruding into places that I don't want them. So this morning I'm digging out my raspberries and I'm going to replant raspberries into containers. Of course, you could grow raspberries in any container of a reasonable size, but to make the best use of my space, I've custom made some containers out of my favourite building material, corrugated iron. What I've done is to simply pop rivet 2 sheets of corrugated iron together. At each end of these, I've fastened 3 pieces of timber. This then tips over, and I'm then fastening a smaller piece that will be the ends onto the inside of the timber. Now, here's a little tip. When you need to cut old galvanised iron lengthwise, particularly short pieces like this, which I'm doing for the ends of these containers, an easier way is to score them with a sharp object. I'm using a Laminex cutter, and then to bend it right over and it'll simply snap off. And instantly you have 2 pieces. Now, this works really well with old galvanised iron. I haven't found it so successful with the newer colour bonds, but you can have a go. This then rolls up and is fastened again from the inside, and it doesn't take long and you've got a container that's exactly the size that you want. Now, I've built 3 of these and I'm bringing them in today. So now that I've got them in here, it's time to fill them. But first, these types of containers would be really good if you're in a suburban situation. You often see in suburban gardens where raspberries are invading the neighbour's place and are unwelcome. If you contain them like this, that wouldn't be a problem. Something like this, you could actually make the pieces of timber at the end taller, and then you could actually run a bar across and put a net over it, so it would become a self-contained unit for growing raspberries. Now, you'll notice that I have put some timber underneath these to keep them off the ground. That way there should be less moisture underneath and a little less rust from the outside, and they may last a little bit longer. So what am I going to put into them? I'm going to put some gravel in the bottom. The main reason is that the drainage is going to occur through the ends, through the corrugations at the end. I haven't put holes in the bottom of these. A little bit of slope is a good idea because it will then run to one end. On top of the gravel, I will put some old timber that I've got out of the bush, and this will form a form of hugelkultur in these beds. And it is a quicker way to fill them rather than making a lot of growing medium. The mix that I'm going to put in is some soil, some compost, and also some grit through it to keep it nice and free draining. So it's taken some time to fill these beds. You'll notice I haven't filled them right to the top. The reason is that I want to leave space for some mulch, again the same as I did on the strawberries and in most beds. You need space for mulch. This of course will settle down over some time. Now, not only am I changing the way I grow raspberries today, but I'm also changing the variety. And these new plants are a summer cropping variety called chilcotton, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Here in Tasmania, they ripen around December and are really tasty.
Oh, really tasty, that's good.
The previous variety that I grew was an autumn cropping variety, and I found that here in Tasmania, the heat of the sun was gone by the time they were ripening, so they weren't as sweet, and they also tended to grow really tall and bang on the roof, so to speak, here in the berry house. So Lucinda, we have
100 each.
We want to put, Samuel, we want to put, just wait a minute for me. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll put 7 in here, 4 along one side and 3 on the other. Yep, that'll be it. Go in those holes, guys. Okay. So you need to dig them in nicely so that the roots are going actually into the soil.
I'm going to make it a bit deeper.
So you might need to make it deeper than it is, okay? Some have got quite large root systems, so you need quite a good hole to get those in.
I think that looks
and make sure all the root goes in underneath.
See, Dad. Is this nice? He's good.
Good, excellent. Well planted, Lucinda.
What about mine?
Yes.
I made sure that the
yours looks fairly good too.
Excuse me. What else do I plant?
Go around there and plant that one around there, Samuel.
I'm going to plant the second one, so he can get warm.
Before I come in and put the mulch on these, I will put a weeper hose irrigation system on them, very similar to what I've actually put on these hanging strawberry beds. But that's a job for another day. What have we got to do now?
Water them.
That's right, one more important thing.
They don't live without water.
That's right, they need some water. Hopefully that's given you an idea as to how you too can grow some raspberries in a small space without annoying your neighbours.